Oh, hello, great readers. I'm Bill Chen.
I'm Nimicum.
I'm Ven Chan.
In this class, I'll read all of you a part of Moby-dick wa the whale.
S.
L.
Moby-dick or the whale. Herman Melville. Chap. Through the Spouter-Inn Sec 1. Entering that gable-ended Spouter-Inn, you found yourself in a wide, straggling entry with old-fashioned wainscots, reminding one of the bulwarks of some condemned old craft. On one side hung a very large old painting so thoroughly besmoked, and every way defaced, that and the unequal crosslights by which you viewed it. It was only by diligent study and a series of systematic visits to it, and careful inquiry of the neighbours, that you could anywhere arrive at an understanding of its purpose. Such unaccountable masses of shades and shadows, that at first you almost thought some ambitious young artists, in the time of the New England hags, had endeavoured to delineate chaos bewitched. But by dint of much and earnest contemplation, and oft-repeated ponderings, and especially by throwing open the little window towards the back of the entry, you at last come to the conclusion that such an idea, however wild, might not be altogether unwarranted. But what most puzzled and confounded you was the long, limbo, portentous, black mass of something hovering in the centre of the picture over three blue, dead, perpendicular lines floating in a nameless east. A buggy, sad, squishy picture truly, enough to drive a nervous man distracted. Yet was there a sort of indefinite, half-attained, unimaginable sublimity about it that fairly froze you out, till you involuntarily took an oath with yourself to find out what that marvellous painting, and if for and the bright, what, alas, deceptive idea would dart you through. It's the Black Sea in a midnight gale. It's the unnatural combat of the four primal elements. It's a blasted heath. It's a Hyperborean winter scene. It's the breaking up of the icebound stream of time. But at last all these fancies yielded to that one portentous something in the pictures. Best. That one's found out. And all the rest were plain, but stopped. Does it not bear a faint resemblance to a gigantic fish? Even the great Leviathan himself. In fact, the artist's design seemed this a final theory of my own, partly based upon the aggregated opinions of many aged persons with whom I conversed upon this subject. The picture represents a Cape Horner in a great hurricane. The half-founded ship weltering there with its three dismantled masts alone visible, and an exasperated whale, purposing to spring clean over the craft, is in an enormous act of impaling himself upon the three mastheads. The opposite wall of this entry was hung all over with a heathenish array of monstrous clubs and spears, some were thickly set with glittering teeth resembling ivory saws. Others were tufted with knots of human hair. and one was sickle-shaped, with a vast tendril sweeping round like the segment made in the Newman grass by a long-armed mower. You shuddered as you gazed, and wondered what monstrous cannibal and savage could ever have gone a death harvesting with such a thin, horrifying implement. Mixed with these were rusty old whaling lances and harpoons all broken and deformed, some with storied weapons. With this once long lance, now wildly elbowed. 50 years ago did Nathan Swain go 15 wells between a sunrise and a sunset. And that happened so like a corkscrew now was flung in Jovan seas, and run away with by a whale, years afterwards slain off the Cape of Banco. The original iron entered neither tale, and like a restless needle sojourning in the body of a man, travelled full 40 feet, and at last was found embedded in the hump. Crossing this Duskeen tree, and on through on lower Wicket through what in old times must have been a great central chimney with fireplaces all round the enter the public room. A still to scare place is this, with such low ponderous beams above, and such old wrinkled planks beneath, that you would almost fancy you tried some old crafts cockpits, especially of such a howling night, when this corner and cuddled our crocs so furiously. On one side stood a long, shelf-like table covered with cracked glass cases, filled with the stewardies gutted from this white world's remotest necks. Projecting from the further angle of the room stands a dark-looking dineth for a rude attempt at a right whale's head. Be that how it may, there stands the vast arched bone of the whale's jaw, so wide a coach might almost drive beneath it. Within are shabby shelves, ranged round with old decanters, bottles, flasks, and in those jaws of swift destruction, like another cursed unit by which name indeed they called him, bustles a little withered old man, who, for their money, dearly sells the sailors deliriums and death. Abominable are the tumbers into which he pours his poison, though true cylinders were shut within. The villainous green goggling glasses deceitfully tapered downwards to cheating bottom. Parallel meridians rudely pecked into the glass surround these Foutpad's goblets, full to this marked, and your charge is but a penny. To this a penny more, and so on to the full glass of Cape Horn measure, which you may gulp down for a shilling. Upon entering the place, I found a number of young seamen gathered about a table, examining by a dim light divers specimens of scrimshander. I sought the landlord, and telling him I desired to be accommodated with the room, received for answer that his house was full and a bed unoccupied. What have asked? He added, tapping his forehead. You ain't no objections to sharing a harpooner's blanket, have ye? I suppose you are going away then, so you'd better get used to that sort of thing. I told him that I never liked to sleep two in a bed, that if I should ever do so, It would depend upon who the harpooner might be, and that if he, the landlord, really had no other place for me, and the harpooner was not decidedly objectionable, why, rather than wander further about a strange town on Spouter-Inn night, I would put up with the half of any decent man's blanket. I thought so. All right. Take a seat. Oh, or you want supper? Suppers will be ready directly. I sat down on an old wooden settle, carved all over like a bench on the battery. At one end, a ruminating tar was still further adorning it with his jackknife, stooping over and diligently working away at the space between his legs. He was trying his hand at a ship under full sail, but he didn't make much headway. I thought. At last, some 4 or 5 of us were summoned to our meal in an adjoining room. It was cold, as Iceland and no fire at all. The landlord said he couldn't afford it. Nothing but 2 dismal candles, each in a winding sheet. We were fain to button up our monkey jackets and hold to our lips cups of scalding tea with our half-frozen fingers. But the fare was of the most substantial, containing not only meat and potatoes, but dumplings. Good heavens. Dumplings for supper. One young fellow in a green box coat addressed himself to these dumplings in a most direful manner. "My boy," said the landlord, "you'll have the nightmare to did certainty." "And Lord," I whispered, "that ain't the harpooner, is it?" No," said he, looking a sort of diabolically funny. "The harpooner is a dark complexioned chap. He never eats dumplings. He didn't eat nothing but sticks, and he likes 'em rare. The devil he does," says I. "Where is that harpooner? Is he here?" "He'll be here afore long," was the answer. I could not help it, but I began to feel suspicious of this dark complex and harpooner. At any rate, I made up my mind that if it turned out that we should sleep together, he must undress and get into bed before I did. So over, the company went back to the barroom, and, knowing not what else to do with myself, I resolved to spend the rest of the evening as a looker-on. Presently a writing noise was heard without. Starting up, the landlord cried, "That's the Grampus's crew." "I see to reported in the offing this morning." To be continued.